Nobody told me 54 would feel like this. They told me about hot flashes. They told me about the gray hair. One woman, bless her heart, she told me my metabolism would, quote unquote, change. Change? That is the politest lie anyone has ever told me. They did not tell me, though, about the freedom. They did not tell me I would wake up one day and realize I had stopped caring about a whole list of things that used to keep me up at night. That I would look in the mirror and instead of finding fault, I would find a woman I actually like and respect. That I would laugh louder, cry faster, say no clearer, and mean every single bit of it. They did not tell me that 54 could feel like the best thing that ever happened to me. Welcome to Guided. I'm Brenda Bertrand. This is a podcast about hearing God's voice in a noisy world. Each week we slow down together, tell the truth about life as it is, and listen for the God who is already with us. Today, I'm giving you my list, and I want you to know it took me 54 years to earn every single thing on it. So pour something good in your cup. You're going to want to sit for this one. I spent decades at war with my body, critiquing her, apologizing for her, wishing she were different, smaller, quieter, more cooperative, because she went through early menopause. And I watched her decide that she was done with certain things, periods, performance anxiety, caring what anyone thought about her size. And I thought, honestly, I give you respect. My body has carried me through grief and trauma and joy and travel and ministry and more airplane seats that I care to count. She has shown up every single day. She has been faithful even when I was unkind to her. I used to negotiate with her like she was a difficult colleague. She was not having it, so I'm done fighting her. I am learning to thank her and celebrate her instead. My body is not my enemy. She is my home, and she has been waiting a long time for me to act like it. Number 2, joy is not a reward. It is a weapon. It is my inheritance. I was taught somewhere along the way that joy was something you earned after the hard work was done, after the suffering, after the sacrifice. Joy was the dessert. Rest was the dessert. You had to eat your vegetables first. And I like a good vegetable, but that is a lie. Joy is resistance. For a Black Caribbean woman navigating systems that were not built for her flourishing, choosing joy is actually a political act, a spiritual act, a survival act, an act of flourishing. Joy is not the absence of struggle. Joy is what carries me through it. I choose it daily, sometimes hourly, not because life is easy, but because I refuse to let the hard things have the last word. And honestly, it's also just more fun. I recommend it highly. 5 stars all the way. 3, God is so much better than I was taught. You know, I had some really beautiful models of God images, spiritual mentors, my mama, my grandma, and so many beautiful people along the way. But somewhere I started to have this image of a God who was keeping score or that was perpetually disappointed, who loved me conditionally and watched from a distance to see if I would finally get it right. And it's been several decades, but I remember that God exhausted me. And then life cracked me open enough times that I had to go looking for the real God. And what I found, was a God who is warmer, wilder, funnier, and more tender and loving than anything I had been handed in Sunday school. A God who shows up in the mess, who is not waiting for me to clean up before I come, who calls my name twice, who calls me beloved and baby girl. And when I am overwhelmed, that God, my God, says, I see you and I am here. I am still unlearning any old God images. It takes time. But every time I catch a glimpse of the real God, I think, ooh, where have you been all my life? Everywhere, apparently. I just was going to the wrong address. It is so freeing, friends. So freeing. 4, I stopped scanning the room and started owning it. All right, I used to walk into rooms reading them first. I mean, that is just a survival technique of people of color, women of color, Black women. Is it safe here? Am I welcome here? Do I need to prove anything before they give me a seat? Will my Blackness be celebrated or tolerated or feared? Will I have to work twice as hard to be considered half as qualified? That was not insecurity, that was intelligence, okay? That was the accumulated wisdom of every Black person who has come before me whispering, "Pay attention, baby. Know the room." And I listened because they were right. They always are. But somewhere along the way, I started to notice something. The rooms were not getting safer, but I was getting more anchored, more rooted in who I am and where I come from. I stopped needing the room to confirm me because I walk in already confirmed. I carry my Caribbean grandmothers. I carry my Black ancestors on this American soil. I carry every woman who was brilliant and overlooked, prophetic and dismissed, powerful and underestimated. I carry the ones whose names we know and the ones history forgot. Maya Angelou said it best, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000." And that is not arrogance, that is inheritance. I walk into rooms that were not designed for me every single day. And I thank the ones who paved the way, and I take my seat and I open my mouth and I trust what comes out of me did not originate with me alone. I am one, and I come with thousands, baby. That changes everything about how I enter a room. Everything. 5. Okay, and I think there are like 11 of these, maybe 10. We'll see. 5. No is a complete sentence. Now, this one took me a little time to learn. No, not no, but, not no, however, not no, let me explain myself for 15 minutes and then apologize for 3 days. Just no. No is a boundary. No is a value. No is me saying, I know what I am here for, and this is not it. And here's what I discovered on the other side of all those no's. The right things got a better yes. My yes became something people could trust because it was not contaminated by obligation or guilt or the inability to disappoint anyone. No is not the opposite of love. No is sometimes the most loving thing available. And it's incredibly liberating, friends. I cannot believe I waited this long for it. I just love saying no. It's just beautiful. 6, rest is holy ground. The church I grew up in was a beautiful place. And it was also a place that had some complicated relationship with rest. And I think most churches do. It's kind of like you rest when you die. Until then, there was always more to do for the kingdom. But Sabbath is not a suggestion. It is a rhythm. Some people call it a commandment. And the God who rested on the seventh day wasn't tired. Maybe God was modeling something and declaring something. That rest is not laziness and rest is not earned. Rest is not a reward for productivity. Rest is built into the rhythm of creation itself. I take my rest seriously now. I protect it. I do not apologize for it. I do not fill it with productive activities to justify it. I just rest. And it looks different for me every time. And every time I do, I come back more myself than when I left. More ideas, more energy, more Brenda. Rest is not quitting. Rest is not failure. Rest is how you stay human. And it is your inherited right. 7, I follow my curiosities. Now, I have to thank my mother and father for this. There's a part of cultural conditioning that says you have to follow cultural roadmap, do this by this age, have this by this milestone, be the kind of person in this kind of role, making this kind of impact in these approved ways. And, the roadmap just always made me feel vaguely lost because it was not my map. And I can remember as a child, my parents would encourage my curiosities, and I think I'm gonna blame them in the best way for why curiosity really is one of my highest values to follow and lean into. It doesn't mean that it becomes the hobby or the career, but it means that I'm faithful to follow the nudges. At 54, I follow what makes me lean forward. What makes me lose track of time? What shimmers? What glimmers? What makes me want to learn and explore and ask the next question? And I do that with people and tasks and ideas. Some of those curiosities have become callings. Some have just been delightful detours. But all of them have been more alive than anything on any approved roadmap. Curiosity is how God often speaks to me. That little pull towards something, that question that will not leave you alone, that door you did not expect that keeps swinging open every time you walk past it. Friend, follow that. You don't need the whole map, just the next step, just the next curiosity. And if the next curiosity leads somewhere unexpected, somewhere good, that's usually where the best things are. 8. I expanded my idea of prayer and it changed everything. Because prayer isn't a thing, a specific thing, done in a specific way at a specific time, in a specific posture with specific words. Because when we can't do that very specific thing, we can often feel like a failure at prayer. But when I traveled to monasteries and sat with nuns and monks who prayed with their bodies and their silence and their work and their meals and their laughter and their holy, messy community, I realized prayer is not a thing. Prayer is an orientation. Prayer is a relationship. Prayer is a posture. We don't pray to get better at prayer. We pray to get better at life and being human and being connected to God and ourselves. Prayer could be the next breath you take before a hard conversation. The gratitude that rises when the tea is exactly right. And I got to get my matcha right, y'all. It may be the lament you carry to God in the middle of night when words will not come. It is the walk. It is the wonder. It is the sunset. Every breath is prayer when you live toward God. And that freed me from the guilt of doing it wrong. And it opened me to the joy of doing it everywhere. Turns out God was never confined to my prayer closet. God was just waiting for me to come outside. 9, the relationships I released set me free. Okay, deep breaths. Stick with me here. Not every relationship is meant to go the distance. Some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season, and some I have learned are in your life for what the therapists call a lesson. And I held on too long to too many things, maybe too many people out of loyalty, out of history, out of the good girl in me who believed that leaving meant failing. But some relationships keep you small, some are draining, and some were draining what I needed for the people and the work I was actually called to. Some were simply finished, and I was the only one still trying to resuscitate them. Letting go is not abandonment. Sometimes it's the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself. I released with love, and I have not looked back. It's not easy. It's actually quite simple, and it can be painful. It can also be liberating. The space that opened up when I did was extraordinary. It turns out I had been so busy holding on, I had no hands free for what was trying to come. 10, I know in my knower that I am beloved. and I'm learning to live like it. This is one that changes everything else on this list. I spent decades knowing in my head God loved me. Theologically, I had it right. Practically, I lived like I was on probation. Like love was something I was always in danger of losing if I did not perform well enough, or serve long enough, or be good enough. Belovedness is not a concept. It is a reality we have to practice inhabiting. What would I do differently if I genuinely believed I was deeply loved and fully accepted right now? Not after the next accomplishment, not after I fix the thing I am working on, not after I become a better version of myself I am always chasing, not after the right prayer. Right now, I would rest more, I would play more, I would take up more space, I would say no faster and yes slower and mean both of them completely. I would stop auditing myself constantly and just live. And y'all, at 54, I love this lesson. Not perfectly and not always, but so much more than before. I am beloved, and I am done living like I am not. It took me some time, but it's so good to be here. 11. Love and hope are indestructible. Wow, this was a hard one lesson, and it's ongoing. There were seasons in my life that I was convinced would finish me. Losses I did not see coming, grief that sat on my chest so heavy I could not imagine breathing normally again. Dark nights that stretched so long I forgot what morning felt like. The dark night of the soul is real. I'm not going to dress it up. And in those seasons, I discovered something I could not have learned any other way. Love does not die. Hope does not die. Not really. Not finally. Now they go underground sometimes, and they get very quiet, and they may even let you fall apart completely. And then when you have nothing left, when the rubble is all around you and you are sitting in the ashes of what you thought your life was going to be, something stirs. Something rises. Because that is what resurrection does. It does not prevent the tomb, friend. It defeats it. Christ did not avoid the cross to spare us the grief. He went through it to show us that the other side exists, that the stone rolls away, that what looks like an ending is often just a very dramatic transition. Friend, you may be in the rubble right now. You may be in the ashes. Stay there as long as you need to. Grief is not a problem to solve. It is a passage to walk through. And here is what I know for sure. Joy and grief are not opposites. They are companions. I have laughed and wept in the same breath more times than I can count. I have found the most profound joy in the deepest grief. That is not contradiction. That is the fullness of being alive. But know this, the ashes are not the end of your story. They are the material God uses to form the next version of you. God doesn't cause it, but out of the fire, you become more rooted, more free, more fully yourself than the woman who went into the flames. And I've learned love and hope are indestructible. I have tested this personally. So I don't know what you'll take from this episode. You don't have to wait until 54 to learn these lessons, and you're probably learning so many more lessons. I would love to hear those lessons from you. You don't have to earn any of this, not the joy, not the rest, not the no, not the freedom, not the belovedness, not the resurrection. It is already yours. The only question is whether we are going to live like it. And we don't have to waste years waiting for permission from people who are too busy waiting for their own permission to give me any, to give you any. So let me be the one to say it. You have permission to take up space, to rest without guilt, to follow what makes you curious, to say no, to let go, to laugh loud, to expand your prayer and your God and your sense of what is possible for your one wild, precious life. To walk yourself back to the woman you were always meant to be. You don't have to have it all figured out. I am 54 and I absolutely do not. And I have never been more at peace with that fact. This is not about age, it's about grace. And grace does not check your ID or your age at the door. Before we close, let's breathe together. I needed this reminder today, so I am receiving it right here with you. At the end, I'm going to dedicate this episode to someone special. So after the blessing, if you stick around, that would be a blessing to me. Here's my blessing. May this season of your life crack something open in you that has been waiting for a long time to breathe. May your rest be deep and delicious and completely unapologetic. May you release what is finished with grace and make room for what is coming with open hands. May you follow every curious pull and every quiet nudge and every door that keeps swinging open like it knows something you do not yet. May you sit in your ashes as long as you need to. And may you feel the first stirring of what is rising in you even now. And may you discover in whatever decade you are living right now exactly what God has been trying to unburden you from, unlearn in you, and call you more fully and freely into. You are not too late. You are not too much. You are not too anything. You are guided. You are held. You are home. And now for the dedication. Rosalind Bertrand. That is my mother's name. I have a photograph of her that I keep close. She is standing at a pool on the diving board. I am in her arms, maybe 1 or 2 years old, and she is pointing at something in the distance, something I cannot yet see. Her whole posture says, "Look, there's something wonderful out there I want to show you." And that is who she was. She pointed the way. She fed my curiosities. She made room for me. She loved me into my own individual beauty and brilliance without ever asking me to be anyone other than exactly who I was. I never knew a more loving person. She is gone now, and I miss her in ways I do not always have words for. But she is still pointing. Still showing me things I could not see without her. Still shaping me in ways that feel like mystery and grace all at once. There's a line from the film Wild that has stayed with me. Cheryl Strayed is walking the Pacific Crest Trail, one broken step at a time, walking herself back from the edges of her own grief and loss. And she says, "I'm going to walk myself back to the woman my mother thought I was." That is my walk too. Every step of it, This episode is for you, Mom. I love you. I miss you with my whole being. And your love is still shaping me.